Hey everybody, welcome to another quarantine classic recaps we're gonna go with, and today I have my friend Mostafa who's coming to us live from Turin. Mustafa, I just want to take the time to say thank you very much for joining me on this. This is a very, very special match to many Juventini, especially us. We're going to recap the second leg of the Juventus Real Madrid 2002-2003 semifinal. And Mustafa, first of all, thank you for joining me. I hope everything is going well for you given the circumstances there. But thanks for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Alberto. I'm very happy to join you. I'm recounting a famous classic, probably my favorite Juventus match of all. And for me, during this time, it's good to go down to memory lane and try to remember beautiful moment that has a huge significance to me. During this tough time here, obviously in the city, and I happen to live in Turin, which is the city of Juve, so it makes me closer to something that I really love, and I consider myself lucky actually to live here, to be so close to the old lady. But I think it's a good thing to go back in time and remember a significant moment in the history of the club. With all the good and bad, and everything related to that point in time, and
Yes.
what followed, and and what was before it, obviously, to try to understand it as well in the context of the moment. So I'm very happy to be with you on the podcast. I'm a big fan of the podcast for a long time, and I always follow you on Twitter since a long time. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate the support, and it never goes unnoticed. And I know you've been a huge supporter of mine for quite some time, and I love it. I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to finally get you on and do this. I know we had a live match from the current season set up, but we know that that's been delayed now, rightfully so. But it's awesome to look back and go down memory lane, and even just like with the jerseys I put up and I grab, and I'm just like, oh, it's one of my favorite kits Juve's ever worn. This one from Buffon is like, just iconic. I think this is the one where it really just sunk in for me with him, and the love just grew from there, right? So
Never stopped, never looked back.
but that's fantastic. So we want to give a little bit of context on Juventus and Real Madrid before we even get to the starting lineups in this particular match. Mustafa, I want to just give you the reins here, and I want you to paint us the picture. Juventus, where we were at this particular time, and Real Madrid, and then we will get into the lineups for this particular match.
Absolutely. As much as I can. I'm trying to again remember. I did some research also when I knew that we were going to talk about it. But as we were discussing, and I think it is important to look at the context of the game, also the recent history to the point of the game. Because we talk about Juventus. As I was saying, Juventus was probably the most dominant team in the 90s in European football. It was the club to be. It was the dream of all top players to play for the club, and it was again the calcio of the 90s. The Serie A and the Italian football was at the peak of its powers. Italian football, I believe, even in the 80s was the peak, but in the 90s it was even more. For example, the English Premier League didn't even compare. The Spanish league was far behind Calcio. The same for other. It was the place to be. It was. I'm originally Egyptian, and in Arab countries we called it the paradise of football. Italian football, the paradise of football, nice. Because it was something that everybody was dreaming of in that time. So obviously, again, we were a very dominant team. We reached 3 finals consecutively. 96 we won, 97, try not to remember it, and 98 as well. Very heartbreaking losses, which sadly we were far more superior than our opponents, but due to many reasons and bad luck. I mean, we didn't win these finals. But then after '98, we had a drop in after '99 in particular, because we had a good campaign in '99. We reached the semi-final and then we lost to United in a heartbreaking fashion. Also back home, which was another game that really was a crazy game as well, because I mean it could have gone in so many ways, but yeah, that's football. There's a winner and a loser. But after that campaign, we had a little bit, compared to our standards during that time, from '96 up to '99, we dropped in Europe heavily. We were not advancing to the later stages, which was unusual. You had other teams that were emerging in the European field that were overtaking us in terms of power. I mean, United was very strong. Madrid were, as usual, dominant in Europe. You had other teams like Valencia who came to prominence in that time. Probably people remember the Valencia of the early 2000s, which was a very strong team. They reached the final 2 times. And other teams, Bayern Munich was very strong as always. I mean, so you had teams that were a little bit overcame. Again, focusing on Juve, we had a drop in Europe, but also domestically. As I was telling Alberto earlier, I mean, for Juve, we had a 4-year gap without winning the league, which is quite long for Juventus. I mean, some other teams are used to that, not winning for years and years. However, for us, 4 years is a long time. But then, so yeah, a couple of years of heartbreaks domestically, not advancing in Europe and not performing in Europe. And then came the summer of 2001, which was the Moggi revolution of selling Zinedine Zidane. Was the world record at the time, and it was again I think adjusted to inflation, it's still a lot of money if we adjust it to inflation, even in today's terms. And then using that money, we got 3 players who would become fundamental for the club for the rest of the history of the club: Gianluigi Buffon, Pavel Nedved, and Lilian Thuram. 3 great players. Who again were part of the structure of the club. Now the club was molding a team that was strong enough to get back to the top in Italy to compete in Europe. The first season with this trio, in addition of course to other great players that were already in the team, Del Piero and the back line of Ciro Ferrara, Montero. I mean, we had a great season that ended with another historic moment, Cinque Maggio, the Scudetto that we won 2002, against all odds in the last week when Inter lost to Lazio, and it was probably after that match we're going to evaluate today. It's probably my happiest moment as a Juventino, but we leave that for another day. And so we won the league. The team is molded, the team is strong. Now is the time for Europe. We are talking summer 2002, beginning of the season 2002-2003. I'm trying to keep people in the context because it's important to try to understand the moment. It's impossible to understand the moment in the past, but to try to imagine it.
Yes.
And then we go, absolutely, we have a great campaign domestically, winning the league easily, but then Europe remains the target, obviously. We had a very good campaign in Europe, and we advanced into the knockout stages going on, and then we had to play a very strong Barcelona team, where again there was another great game when we won away, Nedved Zalaeta. I mean, it was another great match that we had to go, because it's never easy to win in the Camp Nou, no matter which Barcelona you're playing, because I mean, at the time, Barcelona were a good team. They were not in a great moment. They lost the league that year. They lost the league to Real that year. Real won the league in 2003, and actually were years without winning the league. If at the time, because I have a good memory. So in the 1999 was the last one they won the league. But then they had a good team, and it was a great victory for us to defeat them in the quarterfinal. And then we go to the semi-final.
Yes.
Semi-final. Going into that, I don't want to dig into Real. Real's dominance in Europe is well acknowledged.
Yes.
They were the defending champion in that season.
Yeah.
They just beat a very strong United team in 2003 in the quarterfinal, a very strong United team. One of the strongest was Sir Alex Ferguson and so on. So if you remember Ronaldo's famous hat-trick in Old Trafford and It was also a great game, the United Real of the quarterfinal, the return leg in Old Trafford. It ended 5-3, and United were almost one goal away, and it was a crazy game. I still remember it like yesterday.
Yeah.
For any football fan, of course, would love to watch that game. But then anyway, they came to this point, and Real historically again are very dominant in Europe, and they are, I think, quite frankly, they are the most difficult team to win in this tournament historically because of the level of their dominance and their consistency in always reaching later stages, semi-finals. Their finals record is ridiculous. Like really, they virtually never lose in finals. So they are a very difficult team at the time.
Yeah.
And this was during the Real Madrid of the Galacticos when Florentino had this project of piling up, superstars. I mean, it was not very common at the time to have all these world-class footballers in one team.
Yeah.
Again, trying to achieve dominance on the pitch, but also trying to achieve his business empire and so on. So it was, again, a good moment for Real, and I'm trying to show how difficult it was to beat that team, because Real was a very tough team, and they won the league that year. So they were already in a very good form domestically. They won the league in 2003. They had Zinedine Zidane, who was the Ballon d'Or winner the year before, coming off. So both teams were in a very strong moment, which makes this match was a very tough thing.
And now we get to the second leg. So this is the match we're recapping. So after the first leg, we are behind 2-1 on aggregate.
And 2-1, the first match.
We got a Trezeguet away goal, and I believe it was Roberto Carlos with both of theirs in the first leg. So we're down 2-1. We're coming back to Turin for this second leg. The lineups. Let's go with the lineups here. So for Real Madrid, obviously Casillas in goal. They had Salgado, Hierro, Elguera, and Roberto Carlos in the back line. They were without Makaleli, I believe because of suspension. So Cambiaso made his way in. Conceição was the other part of the two-man pivot, with Zidane, Guti, and Figo more as pressing midfielders in that midfield, with Raúl up top. And Raúl was just coming back from appendix surgery, so he was fit. And Ronaldo is the most notable name on their bench because he was suffering from calf injuries ever since the first leg. So that's a pretty solid lineup, no question. Hell of a squad they had. You look at our lineup. I absolutely loved our lineup. This we talked about this. Probably in my time of supporting, my favorite squad was the 02-03 squad.
Me too.
Amazing. So we get to the names here, and you have, of course, Buffon in goal. Lilian Thuram. We have Tudor and Montero making up the center backs, and Ciro Ferrara was out with suspension, so he couldn't play in this one. So we get Tudor and Montero. Birindelli on the outside. They pushed Zambrotta into part of the midfield with Takenardi and Davids and Nedved, with Del Piero and Trezeguet up front. This is just a great lineup. The flexibility.
Every single player of them is an icon in his own way.
This was a awesome lineup. I loved it. The fact that you had the flexibility with Montero, Tudor, with Ferrara being out, fantastic. We did have a couple players on some yellows going into this. Birindelli, Nedved, and I believe there was one other going into this one that we had to be wary of. And yes, that comes into effect, and we'll get to that as we get into this game. So before we start breaking down the actual moments that make up this match right out of the start, Do you remember where you were, Mostafa, when this match took place? Where you were watching?
Absolutely. I was home. I was home watching on my TV. It was before. I mean, to watch European football at the time, you need to have cable subscription. You had to pay-per-view. But at the time, this was the last season that you could watch European football for free on the national TV. So because starting 2004 and Euro 2004 was the first tournament that you had to pay for, and then everything followed suit. So it was the last time I watched European football on the national TV. So I was home. I was 14, 15. I'm 31 now. Yeah. So yeah, that was when I watched the game.
Yeah. I was about 19 years old, and
okay.
Because of the game times being, especially Champions League, are always challenging for us here because it's in the middle of work days or whatnot and shifts. But I remember my dad had it recorded, and we were waiting. We were going to watch it, and he's got friends that follow. They're Italian friends of his, and they follow Calcio and everything. And some of them don't necessarily support Juventus or whatnot, right? But it's fun to still all get together. Some of them do support Juventus. And I remember for this match, because it was recorded, he purposely held back a few people from being able to come and join us. And it raised a big fuss because he says, no, because I know you guys know the result. He goes, you always say little hints and stuff and it wrecks it. He goes, he kept it, and he caused this big thing, and he goes, well, how come he can come and he goes, no, that's it. And I remember we watched it, and he said, like, as these certain people were coming, he goes, if you say anything that ruins it, I'm going to kick you out. Like, that's it. There was no tolerance for ruining the result.
Absolutely, man.
And it was amazing. It was so funny. But yeah, let's get to the match here.
Absolutely.
This literally, like, it didn't take long into this one. Juve was coming at Real Madrid.
Absolutely.
It was, I think, less than a minute in, and Trezeguet gets a great chance. He's just called for offside. And, I remember, like, just kind of jumping up right out of the gate and just getting fired up and like, okay, let's go. Lippi, right after that opportunity, he's already into the first cigar. And I love that. So it's going to be a good night. He's into that cigar nice and early. We're getting chances right away. Tacchinardi goes in hard on Raul really, really early. And I remember that so vividly because I was just like, man, I love that about this team. They made it a nightmare for anybody that they faced.
They were fighting for every second ball. It's just unreal, man. Unreal. Yeah.
So Tacchinardi goes in hard, very hard on Raul. Seconds later, right after, Davids goes right through his man. And I was just like, I loved it because I said, you know what, yeah, take the foul, whatnot, but it let Real Madrid know right out of the gate that they were in for a nightmare.
Exactly.
I loved it, and that's what I mean when we talk about teams of old for Juve. This 02-03 team had it all: the talent and skill to score goals, create chances like that, and they backed down from nobody, and they went through you. They got a piece of you in the midfield from all angles. Tacchinardi, I believe, is one of the most underrated Juve players of all time.
Absolutely.
He was an absolute gem. So after this foul from Davids, Roberto Carlos lines up, 40, 50 yards back, the way he always does. He absolutely laces this thing with his classic outside curl. He almost.
The curve, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. Even Buffon, like, he's running to it, and then he's just like, holy smokes. Like, it's a rocket. It's wild to see. We all know Roberto.
You can't touch it. If it's in the goal, you have no chance. You cannot just, Buffon, there's nothing you can do. Yeah.
So that was a close call from them. But then after that, Juve really just controlled. They were catching Real Madrid on on throw-ins quite often, and it would be Nedved, and Nedved was able to find some space off a throw-in from Davids, and he drilled one. He was trying to go short side. He didn't miss by much. Casillas, it would have been close, but it was nice to see. We just keep pushing. Zambrotta was giving Roberto Carlos fits. Before he could even get to Lilian Thuram, Roberto Carlos was having a hell of a time just even getting by Zambrotta. And I just remember Zambrotta getting the better of him many times and then able to push the ball up the wing to Nedved, who was used more as a trequartista because he was on both sides supporting.
On both sides, and he was playing all over exactly.
It was fantastic. It was working out great. And then 12 minutes in, Juve's possession, Tudor sends a ball over the top to Zambrotta. Zambrotta one touches it in to Takanardi, who pops it up to Trezeguet, who heads it to Nedved. Nedved fakes the quick cross, dummies his man, gets around him, puts the cross over. Del Piero heads it to Trezeguet, puts it home, and there we go. We're on the board. One absolutely beautiful goal. Like, beautiful goal. Casillas coming out, he had no chance. I mean, it was amazing.
It's incredible, and the timing of the goal was very important as well. The timing of the goal.
So we're 12 minutes in. We're now 1-0 up. We are 2-2 on aggregates, and as it stands, Juve's going.
Going.
The crowd's roaring. We're fired up. Lippy's fired up. The reactions are amazing.
Everyone, the reactions of the fans were crazy.
And you think, what's going to happen now? How's this going to play out? And Juve did not hold back. They just kept pushing and pushing. Madrid, trying to get a lot going on, but again, like we talked about right from the get-go with Takanardi and then Davids going into that, Juve kept that up. Madrid got a few free kicks here and there.
Over the pitch.
Yeah.
We're bullying them all over the pitch.
Yeah, so Madrid was getting a few free kicks here and there, but really, it was nothing. The best chance they had was a very lucky opportunity that the ball found its way off a deflected shot to Guti, who got behind our line. It seemed that it may have been offside.
Yes, he thought he was offside, yeah.
And it didn't end up being called. The play resumed, and Buffon, luckily, continued on with it, made a great save, point blank.
He made a great save, yeah.
And it felt like everybody in that entire stadium, players included, was waiting for that flag to come up, and it didn't. And Buffon, even as he was approaching him, it was almost like he was like, well, this is going to be...
He was not sure of it.
It was so strange. But luckily, Buffon kept it out. The play continued, and we keep carrying on. And after that little spell there for Madrid, again, Juve just continuing with the dominance and just really, really pushing it through there. There was a lot of nasty challenges in this match from Real Madrid, where I felt they got fortunate on a couple of them. Because one was on Davids in about the 25th minute. I thought easily could be a red card. It was not called. It was a great spot for a free kick. The foul was called. The red card was not given. A yellow.
I get your point.
Del Piero lines it up. The shot goes off the wall. But again, we're consistently getting in there and giving them fits. The 36th minute, again, great build-up between Nedved, Trezeguet, and Del Piero. Del Piero makes a beautiful turn on his man at the top of the area, and out of nowhere, before Del Piero can even get to follow up, Trezeguet is already flying in there, and he steals a shot right off his foot. Great save by Casillas there on that one. And then we had a little bit of a scramble, because after Casillas makes that save, Trezeguet runs in, he pops it over, he crosses it back in, and you're just waiting for someone to scream in there. And we just couldn't get to it. But again, we're giving Madrid nightmares. Absolute nightmares. Absolutely. 7 minutes later, Madrid has a dead ball, playing it out of their end. They're trying to catch Juve. off guard, and you see them playing the dead balls very quickly, trying to push up the field. Tudor sniffs this one out so fast. He pops the ball over the top. And you almost, because it goes from one side of the screen with the cameraman all the way back to the other, Del Piero just kind of appears at the bottom of the screen, and you're like, oh, he's there. He settles this ball. He turns. He cuts inside. He feints.
Absolutely.
He almost takes another step back, cuts back in, shot short side, and it goes in. And that celebration, everybody remembers that celebration. Unbelievable, man.
Classic Del Piero. Classic Del Piero. Yeah, it's just amazing.
For a man who stands at 5'7", I don't think I could ever believe my dad's head would hit the ceiling when this goal went in, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. So now 2-0. 2-0 and 3-2 up on aggregate. And this is just an amazing...
This gave us a good safety caution that even if we conceded a goal, we're still in it. You know, it was a good... The second goal was important to give us a bit of a safety caution going into the second half. And the goal came in the end of almost in the end of the first half.
Yeah, basically. After conceding the second goal, Madrid started to push and started to squeeze a little harder, trying to get more, but they were really still left to only cross. Like, they were not getting opportunities whatsoever. And it was great to see from us, because I never felt threatened that entire first half by Madrid, really. And we talked about the chances, the opportunities Juve was creating. They had a lot of opportunities. Del Piero missed a couple of shots where he probably could have, done better.
Zambrotta had a great shot in the last, in last couple of minutes of the first half as well. Yeah. A long distance effort. Yeah,
we had a couple one volley from Nedved, one from Zambrotta blocked. Tacchinardi had a couple where he laced them that got blocked before they could get through. We were just all over them, really. This first half was incredible.
We were at probably one of the most dominant performances. Like in the first half, really, we were all over the pitch, pushing them in every single corner on the pitch. They were suffocating. They couldn't breathe in the first half.
Yeah.
And the second half was a different story, obviously, because they were on the ropes and they had to find something, But the first half was complete domination.
Yeah. And that's just it. We get to halftime. We're 2-0 up. We're just playing beautiful football. Not allowing my notes match yours to a T. We're not allowing Madrid to breathe. We're suffocating them in the final third. Anytime they do get there, they run out of ideas very fast. We're just cutting them out. But I just remember the complete dominance on that right flank between Zambrotta and Thuram, just able to do whatever they wanted up that side.
We're talking, Alberto, we're talking two all-time greats. We're talking, I'm not Zambrotta's biggest fan for reasons later on in our lives, but he was a great player. There's no doubt he's one of the best wing fullbacks Italian football has ever seen. Thuram, again, another giant. So we're talking two really huge giants of football. So obviously they were and on their day, there was no way you're going to do anything.
No, absolutely. To just think about that, even when you had one of them as your fullback, but to put another ahead of them, it's just like... That whole side is on lockdown.
It's almost unfair for other teams,
It's crazy. It's absolute crazy. It was just madness, man. But
a couple of weeks back, I think people were comparing the 2015 squad to that squad. I love the 2015 squad. However, guys, no, there's no comparison.
I did that with my Striped Hearts account. So obviously, Striped Hearts is the new project. It's apparel. Yeah, I know Striped Hearts. Yeah. We just do designs, and I just said because a lot of the younger guys want to go 2014, 15. While 2002-03 was incredible. My heart 02-03, 14-15 was special in its own right. And,
absolutely.
It was a different team. It was different. methods. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was I don't know. It's almost like my brain and my heart always clash sometimes when we talk about Juve, and answers change
I know.
from week to week based on mood sometimes because
Look, I mean, I'll tell you something. I mean, anything that follows 2006 will always be for the heart because, again, because we will see it with the heart because 2006 changed everything.
Yeah.
However, objectively, no, this 2002-3 squad is just ridiculous. The depth is ridiculous. I mean, you're talking. I mean, if you see this starting XI, every single player is an all-time great.
Yeah.
Every single player. So it's yeah. I mean, I see. I mean, my heart, like you, will go to the more because I know what we had to go through, and these players who stuck with that team and managed to go back to a final after because we had 12. I mean, I don't want to go so much forward so that we focus on 2003, but we had a long time. We were not there, so obviously the heart will go for them. However, objectively, that team was just ridiculous. It's just unfair, you know.
And it's funny that you brought that up, the comparison, because I was running that and I said, just the heart, the heart saying that. But after I watched this game, as I'm watching this game, I was thinking, I'm an idiot. This team would have crushed that 14.
I mean, there's no chance, man.
There's no chance. No chance. So,
let's get back to the game. Yeah.
And I can't, a big part of me wanting to do these classic rewinds is exactly for that. A lot of the newer fans, you really need to take the time and go back and watch these clubs. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's great to watch.
I did the same. I mean, I did the same. I mean, I always went back to see the people that I didn't see. For example, I didn't witness Baggio in Juve because I was too young to remember. I was very young. I didn't witness the great teams of the 80s. However, I always do the effort to try to catch up with the history of the club. I mean, it's something that that if when you have an interest in something, you always go back in memory lane and you see people like Scirea, who was an all-time great player, Platini, I mean, Dino Zoff. I mean, you have to, I think it's good to do this effort to go back in time and remember the greats of the club.
Also. Absolutely. Now let's get to the second half of this one. It doesn't take very long before you start to see Ronaldo warming up for Real Madrid, about 49th minute. And you start to see Ronaldo warming up. In about the 53rd minute, he comes in. And it doesn't take very long after that he is right on our back line. He gets through. It's offside. He makes sure that he takes that shot, though. And Buffon makes sure that he saves it. A little bit of mind games there, but I like it. Buffon, he makes that save, makes sure he gets there. He could have just let it go. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, me too. This is why Gigi is just on another level. He's in another stratosphere.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because the whistle was long gone, and you see Ronaldo. He's taking the shot. He wants to put it in and just kind of get that psychological edge. And Buffon right away, boom! Buffon dives out, stops it far beyond the whistle.
Pushing in the second half. They were pushing. They were pushing in the first 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 56th minute again. One of these throw-ins where we catching them off guard to Nedved, and again he finds space. Again he has a hit. This one didn't miss the top corner by much. It was swerving away. He didn't miss it by much. And again, it looked like they had studied Madrid very, very well, and they knew when they were going to press, what they were going to do on throw-ins.
The game plan was perfect, Alberto. I mean, a Lippi masterclass. This is a Lippi masterclass. It
was incredible. 58th minute, corner for Juve, and we get to it. Casillas comes out to challenge. He misses it completely. We have two Juventini. They get to it. They pop it over. It's going far post, but it's missing the goal. And Trezeguet even tries to dive and direct it in, and he just out of his reach. But again, we're all over them. We're pressing. 60th minute, Pesotto starts to warm up.
Yes.
And he's getting ready. At the very next stoppage, Birindelli comes off, Pesotto comes on.
I mean, these are two players. I mean, just to parentheses, the two very loyal and long-time serving players for the club, and people should also remember them because there are some players that are forgotten with time, and they were not flashy. They were not very much. They didn't really shine, but they were two great players, and they should be remembered well. Yeah,
And it's one of the things, and I'm guilty for it too. Now, since we've had this break and I've been able to really go back and dive into these classics and whatnot, Birindelli stayed with us in Serie B too. Granted, he was older and whatnot, but that's a guy that gave a lot to the shirt, man, and a very, very underappreciated player, I believe, as well.
Absolutely.
But Birindelli, oh man, Pasotto, just like you said, not flashy guys, but get the job done consistently. Consistently get the job done.
Absolutely.
So Birindelli comes in. This second half, there was yellow cards flying around like crazy. Del Piero gets one, Montero gets one, Guti,
characteristically, Montero had to get one, of course.
Montero's got to. But the cards are going around like crazy. And the Montero one will create a little bit of a situation coming up very close.
Absolutely, later on, yeah.
67th minute, Antonio Conte starts to get ready. He's warming up and whatnot. 68th minute, Ronaldo finds some space behind Juve. Very, very close to offside, but he stays on. He gets it in behind. They play him through. Montero takes him down. The PK's called. Madrid is losing. Vincent Del Bosque, the coach at the time, is calling for that card. He's almost at center, I think, of the pitch, walking out, trying to get this card, because that would get Montero out. It would be a second yellow. Were you surprised there was no card on that?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's a red card. To be fair, I mean, I think it was a red card.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised because I remember that ref from that game, and he was a very famous referee at the time, Mayer. I remember him. I think Swiss guy or something like that, or German. But I mean, I have a feeling he didn't. Maybe again, I'm trying to see the way he saw. Thuram was not so far away from Montero. Maybe in his mind, Thuram could have was closer to the ball. It was not a clear-cut one-on-one. However, it is a yellow card for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a straight red. However, it's a yellow card. Like if Montero doesn't have a card, so it is. To be fair, it is a red card. It should have been a red. But,
I thought for sure.
Luckily for us, it wasn't. Yeah.
I thought for sure, it was going to be yellow card, his second yellow, and out. But it wasn't, and I'll take that. And then we get to a moment that's just like embedded in my brain, but they get the PK. Figo steps up. And, the anticipation of this kick and what it's going to mean, it's going to...
And this is a very difficult moment because if they score, the game completely changes. Huh?
Absolutely, because now we become 3-3 on aggregates, even though we're 2-1 up. We become 3-3 on aggregates.
3-3 on aggregates.
Even, and an away goal each, and now it's fair play.
Now, exactly. If they score the second, they advance.
Exactly. So now, this is huge. Figo steps up. He starts his run, takes the hit. Buffon stops it. He gets up. He's yelling directions immediately. Rewatching this, reliving it. The goosebumps, man. Like the goosebumps. It just, oh my God, man. And just the vision, I still remember it just like that. Him yelling and screaming and just getting fired up. And the roar of the crowd. And it's incredible.
Iconic, man. So just
unbelievable moment. Iconic moment. Amazing. And
It
then,
is it is in Gigi's repertoire of his great moments with us.
oh,
I mean,
it's,
right on the top, one of the top moments.
I mean, Figo stepping up, you're not anticipating
Against,
him missing.
against an all-time great, Luis Figo was a great player. Because
Absolutely.
people are also, again, we are all suffering from short memory spans, just focusing on today. Luis Figo, until Ronaldo, was considered arguably the greatest Portuguese player of all time, along with Eusebio, obviously. So, I mean, until Ronaldo, so some people, even Luis Figo, I mean, just to show you how people forget is being forgotten as we're moving away from the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You just don't expect Figo to not score that, right? But make the save, incredible.
Gigi.
Madrid continues to press after that miss. They're starting to really squeeze down now and come at us, a little more waves here and there. A couple moments later, again, we were talking about these crunching tackles and whatnot. Big Takenardi puts his boot right into Zidane's throat, and it's like, welcome back to Turin, buddy. Just unbelievable. I was just like, oh, Takenardi. But you know what? It's just like,
you've noticed that Zidane was getting booed throughout the game, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, even at the time, people, his history with the club was the competition or the moment was too big for anything. You know, people were just we just wanted to get the win, regardless of Zidane and his history with the club.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get to the 75th minute. Zambrotta on the wing, into Tudor over the top to Trezeguet. He settles it. He puts it back over to Zambrotta, who goes one in the path. He puts it in the path of Nedved, who runs into this thing, okay, and hits it one time. The second he gets to this, he runs. I think he's going to run out of the building out of sheer excitement. He runs. He stops in front of the curva, and another iconic celebration, and we are 3-0 up.
My favorite moment, hands down, is Juventino. My favorite goal, my favorite moment. It's nothing will ever overpass that moment for me. This everything as you said, as you detail the story of this goal and the celebration and the moment and the importance of the goal, because the goal came when we were being piled on by Madrid.
Yes.
Like the goal came as a life. You know, like, you know, when you are, when you cannot breathe, and then all of a sudden you just,
and that's why I was just this team, they could do it all. You go from being pressed and wave after wave, but again, even while Madrid is pressing us and really starting to, put the squeeze down on us, again, no real threat. We handle it easily, and then we create opportunities like this out of nowhere, like just boom.
By the way, I'll tell you something, because I looked into the statistics of the game. They had 57% position, and they had more shots more shots in total. However, when you watch the game, you don't feel the threat at all.
No,
because again, we had Lippi had a game plan, and he knew very well. And the players, they did the game plan in detail. Perfectly well. They executed the game plan without a flaw.
Yeah.
So even if, again, they had position, Madrid had position, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It didn't mean anything. I mean, because if you evaluate the clear-cut chances they had in the game, 2, maybe 3. Yeah.
And this is why, and you're no stranger, obviously you're no stranger to my podcast, and it's why I changed and I started to get away from stats, because it doesn't tell the story. So, it's so misleading. So if you were to look at the stats...
By the way, I'm a statistician, and I tell you it doesn't tell the story. Our statistics professor used to say the most difficult thing about statistics is how to tell a story. That's how
it doesn't tell a story so often, because again, this one is a perfect proof of that. I mean, if you look at the stats, you would think, my God, how did Madrid, must have got lucky here for Juve or whatnot, but that wasn't the case. Juve dominated. We dominated. And This goal was just unbelievable. That celebration, all these celebrations on these three goals were just iconic. Nedved running out there underneath the curva, incredible scenes. The roar of the crowd, just incredible. Lippy's reactions, like Buffon's reactions, looking to behind his goal and how he started that. Just the cloud. It all began.
And the bench, and it was just
amazing. So we're 3-0 up. We're 4-2 up on aggregates now. And that's just huge. Absolutely huge. Now we start to continue on, and you're thinking now Madrid's really going to, come back. But honestly, we were cutting it out. We were putting the ball up. We were forcing them to take more yellow cards. Wero ends up taking a yellow trying to chase down Trez, who's running down a ball where he was sprung up.
Alberto watching this game also showed me how we really miss somebody. Edgar Davids was a great player. This guy was a bolt of energy. He was not called the Pitbull for no reason. I was watching him in the game. There aren't many players like Davids. I know people like Vidal. Vidal is a great player, but Davids just another level, man. The guy was just unbelievable. I just want to give him a shout out because him and Takinardi, both of them were just rock solid, man. And Davids was just a great player.
The thing with this team too is that you just had, even your hard-nosed players had incredible technical ability. Like Davids was making moves, dangles on guys like it.
Ridiculous, man. I forgot. With time, obviously, I'm forgetting how they. It's good to watch these games because you see how this guy was iconic. This guy was just unbelievable. All over the pitch, energy, speed, power, agility.
Yeah. David's, he's one of my favorite of all time for sure for Juve. He was just incredible, absolutely incredible, his time with us. But you look at that midfield, Takinardi, Nedved, Davids, they put Zambrot in there. They had Mauro Camoranesi on the bench. He makes an appearance. But it's just, Conte, it was just, they had these guys, they all knew their job. And they all got it done well, and the biggest thing with them, they were an actual unit,
Absolutely.
That's the way it was. It was, granted, they all had the ability to make something happen individually, but they were a unit and they played like it, It's night and day. From watching, and that's why I can't stress enough to people to go back and watch these games. It's night and day when you watch our current club or the past few seasons, because you really see the difference in unity on how we actually play. That's been my frustration. So when I say we talk about bringing in all these individual guys, I'm like, well, is that going to fix it when we have a systematic problem, It's just the system. We don't have a set system where they can all find their roles and grow together in that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. If we talk about the present, we can talk for hours and hours because there are many issues related.
And you're absolutely right. So let's carry on here. We'll go. The yellow cards continue to fly out the second half. 78th minute, Camoranesi comes in. Trezeguet goes off.
A standing ovation that he deserved. Absolutely.
Yeah, Trezeguet was absolutely huge for Juve. I absolutely loved him for his time with us. Hard not to. The partnership he formed with Del Piero was incredible.
I think also Trezeguet is one of these players who are becoming underappreciated in a way. Somebody globally, not within our fan base. Within our fan base, he's a legend. But also for other players, I was looking at Twitter a couple of days ago, and there was somebody comparing him to Karim Benzema. Benzema is a very good player, but Trezeguet is just another level. His statistics, his contributions with the national team and with the club, with Juventus, and Trezeguet is an all-time great striker, and again, Benzema is a very good player, but he's not on that level at all. I'm just saying, and I think by fan bases of other clubs or generally, he needs more appreciation as a player because he was that good and he was that great.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we get to the match continuing on. We're getting later, and you're thinking, okay, Real Madrid's got to press, like they got to start making something happen. You think it's just a matter of time before it comes. 80th minute, Del Piero is absolutely robbed by Casillas on a header from across from Nedved. We get a scramble from that opportunity, and then another shot from Nedved deflects off Del Piero's head from point blank, and it goes right to Casillas. So there's two incredible opportunities for us to go 4-0 up. We don't. 83rd minute. This is after Real Madrid substitutes in McManaman for Cambiaso. Nedved trying to tackle McManaman, and he takes a yellow in the middle of the field, in the middle of the pitch. Completely unnecessary. He realizes what he's just done as he buries his face into his hands, because now he is gone for the final with this yellow card received. And it's just...
It's heartbreaking. You know what I noticed when I was watching the game? How really stupid that tackle was. It was just not... It was just... this is also one of the facts of life, how random events that are small, stupid, you don't realize it in the moment sometimes. Of course, we realized it, but then when you go back and you revisit them, you see how really... I was looking at it. It was just a ball. It was not dangerous. It was in the half of it was even in the half of Madrid. Like, it was not even close to the 18, not close to the to our just. Yeah, it just. But then again, Alberto, I think some things are just meant to be. It just. You never know.
It was completely unnecessary. What my question to you would be, looking back, and hindsight's always 20/20, but we can't really, Lippi was amazing and whatnot, but 3-0 up, 2 goals up on aggregate. If Camoranesi comes in, I get taking Trez off, get a little more defensive there, but should it have been one of the guys on a yellow, and a guy like Nedved who you don't want to lose? See him?
You could. You could say that. You could say that, but at the same time, to his defense as well, I think a game like that, Alberto, is really not guaranteed. I think he, in his mind, you want to score the third, you want to score the fourth, you want to get as further away from them getting back to you. Maybe in his mind, he felt that, I don't know how, but then again, it's impossible to look at it retrospectively, because when you are in the moment, your decisions, and we're talking about arguably, along with Trapattoni, the greatest manager who ever managed the club. And in his peak of his powers as well, in the peak of his powers, probably he was not feeling assured, believe it or not. He was not in the moment, he was not feeling it's done. He was not feeling that Madrid are done, that they are not coming back into this.
Yeah.
To his defense, also, a couple of minutes after Zidane scored, and we had a couple of nervy moments. With the link that you sent me, they were Spanish commentators, and they were very, very, very much pro Madrid, it's hard. It's hard to look at it this way. You could make the argument, however. Yeah. It's difficult. Yeah,
I just look at that game and I saw the way it was going, and Nedved was very fortunate not to get a yellow ahead of that moment, because he had very questionable, and that's the reason I even bring it up, because it was just he had very close calls. We go up 3-0, 2 goals on aggregates. There's 15 minutes left, possibly, just a possibility, but.
You could make an argument. You could make the argument. However, again, I would not be able to put it against, to point it against Lippi. I wouldn't say that. In the end of the day, it is a close. It's difficult to make that decision to foresee. I mean, again, we're talking about you're going against a very difficult team that can come back any moment. It's how I imagine for him he felt he needed Nedved a little bit longer on the pitch since Nedved was having the game of his life as well. I mean, Nedved was the most important player in the team at the time.
Yeah, and as you touched on, 6 minutes later. They find Raul finds Zidane with a ball over the top, who does an incredible job to slot that home. Incredible finish. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, we got to be careful here. One more, and that's a different story. They go through, right? Because of the away goals. And Conte ends up coming in for Davids immediately to try and close this thing out. In extra time, Zambrotta actually almost finishes one along the ground going far post. He had Casillas beat. It just bounced away from goal. And then a couple minutes later, in about the 94th minute, Raul gets clear behind our defense, heads it. It seemed like Buffon watched it wide, though. I think he would have been there. Ultimately, Raul missed the goal, but I think even if he had put that on target, it looked like Buffon was going to be there.
Absolutely.
And then we see it out. The whistle goes. The celebrations begin. However, you see, you're watching Nedved, and you see how distraught he is through the victory because he knows.
I forgot that he cried heavily after the match. I mean, again, the years. It's time 17 years. But he really, I was moved when I saw him crying heavily because he was in one of the best moments of his career, probably, and unfortunately, bittersweet. That's unfortunately. Obviously, this game in general, all this moment, when you look at it in the scope of things, it's bittersweet because. We didn't get the job done, unfortunately, in the end.
Yeah, we know.
His absence was a big factor in that.
We end up making it to the final, and we all know, obviously, it went to penalty kicks with Milan, and it didn't work out. And, I am one to believe that if Nedved's in that lineup, it's a different match, completely.
We were streets better. We were streets ahead of Milan, of that Milan team. And I think that Milan team it was a great team. It had a great back line. However, aside from the defense, we were better in the centrocampisti. We were better in the midfield. We were better in the attackers. In general, Lippi. On the outside. Now, I have no doubt in my mind. I have zero doubt in my mind. If Nedved was on the pitch, it's a different game completely. And
absolutely, and I feel the same. So. Yeah, it really, this match is just incredible. Ultimately, the only blemish was Zidane's goal and Nedved, the poor yellow card. Other than that, this is incredible. The way we took the game to them, the way we handed them this loss. Incredible match. For newer Juventini, if you have not watched this, you absolutely have to. The site I use is footballia.net. Type in Juventus FC, you'll get about 40 pages of matches. But really, the 02-03 season, you could just watch that in its entirety and just enjoy that team, that roster, that squad. But this match, absolutely incredible. Sure, It becomes bittersweet when we know what happens, after the fact. But this was just an incredible win.
I just want to say on that note as well, regardless, football is made up of great moments. This is the whole idea of football, and this is a great moment. And you enjoy it in the vacuum of the moment. You don't have to think about what came after.
Yes.
Because, what came after was not happy, but until today, we're just talking today, it's my favorite match ever.
Yeah.
It's my favorite moment ever. The moment that Nedved scores the third. I don't have to link it to the final because again, football is made up of great moments, and we enjoy these moments, and this is what makes it that's special. In the sense that if you think about what is the consequence of everything, it's you will never really enjoy the game, and at the end of the day, it's just. yeah, I mean, we shouldn't really be so sad about it. It was not meant to be. We lost to a great team in the end. I mean, Milan had a great team, and we lost penalties. We were not outplayed. Like we had worse losses later on. Like
Yes.
the 2015 was 20, not even. I'm not going to even talk about Cardiff, which is another really bad. Yeah, we'll just leave that. So. I mean, in the end of the day, yeah, just you enjoy the moment regardless of what follows, because
Well
then
said.
you really.
Well said. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a must-watch for anyone that hasn't. And the highlights are not enough. You need to watch this match. It's just fantastic play from Juve. It's incredible. And really, really, the guys we talk about, but really just hone in on them. Igor Tudor had an incredible match in this one. Tudor was I thoroughly
Giant.
enjoyed his time.
Also a giant, also underrated as well, huh?
Absolutely. Tudor
Underrated.
in this one had an absolutely spectacular match. Montero was great. He gets into a little bit of trouble. That's Montero. He always does. I love him for it, though.
I love him to death. I mean, I have his shirt from the '99 season. Actually,
Yeah, it's great. But yeah, I highly, highly recommend this match. Mustafa, thank you so much for recapping this. Before
Thank you, buddy.
we wrap up, I got to ask you a couple questions because we're doing fan focus interviews too, and I just want to finish on some fun little questions here.
Tell me.
Who's the first guy you think of when you think red card for Juve?
Montero.
And did you know that he's not the leader in red cards for Juve all time, and that it's Tacchinardi?
Tacchinardi. Really? I didn't know that.
There you
Wow.
go. So
I thought it would be Montero by a landslide.
I thought it would be as well, so I was surprised to see Tacchinardi is, I believe, 1 or 2 red cards ahead of Montero.
Wow.
And Gigi Buffon is actually high up on that list with 5 red cards himself.
Wow.
Very,
you know,
very interesting.
you know a player, just regarding red cards, you know who never got a red card in his career?
Who never did?
Yeah. You know, a Juventus defender, Shiré.
Sharia never with a red.
Never got a red card in his whole career.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I would have never guessed that for a center back for Juve.
But he was a different. He was Gentili was the bad guy.
Yeah,
Shiré was the good.
that's right.
Yeah, that's how it was.
He even looked the part, man. Gentile. That's awesome. Favorite Juve jersey for you?
This one.
97, 98. Beautiful.
98 season. 97, 98 season. Absolutely. I like the 2003 one. However, this one is my favorite.
Favorite Juve player of all time for you?
I fell in love with the club because of Del Piero, but my favorite player is Gianluigi Buffon. For many reasons. Partly because of what came after that game and after 2006. I value loyalty and dedication more than anything. For me, it's the most important virtue in football. And for me, Buffon is the personification of this word. Obviously, we have the 5 loyal players. You made a T-shirt with your project of these people. They all sacrificed. However, the way I look at it, and this is where I put Buffon ahead of the rest, even in this case of Del Piero. Del Piero, by this point in time, 2006, achieved everything in football. Everything in football with Juventus, achieved everything. He won the World Cup. Obviously, Del Piero is remained and it is appreciated. However, Buffon, at this point in his life, 28 years old, the best goalkeeper in the world. And Buffon, I live in Italy, so I know very well, Buffon is not the son of Torino. He was not born in Turin. He's from Carrara. He grew up in Parma. He spent more years in Parma at this point in 2006 more than he did in Juve. However, and at this point in time, he could have selected whatever club he wanted, and he would have gone, and he would have won the Champions Leagues that he hasn't won until today, and he would have probably had a different kind of career. However, because he loves this club, he sacrificed all that for the club, and he stayed with us during the darkest times of our history. Again, so I fell in love with the club because of Del Piero. However, for me, Buffon is my favorite player, and I put him on top of that hill because of these things that I'm talking about. He is the personification of loyalty, dedication, and sacrifice. And these are things that I personally value so much.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time, but we've been blessed with some incredible players to be part of our squad, and there's no there's no wrong answer you could really give. Like you just everybody's got their own personal attachment
Absolutely.
and sentiments to certain players, but Buffon and Del Piero for me, I mean, I don't think I could ever choose between the two
They're
of
the
those
top for
circles,
me.
right?
Yeah, they're the top for me.
You
I
know,
mean, it's Buffon and Del Piero, right? Both
yeah,
of them.
and just for me, like I remember, like everybody kind of asked my favorite, and just for me, because as I was coming in, I was still very young, but Baggio, I just, I remember being captured and whatnot, but then Del Piero kind of solidified it for me and just, you know, essentially finished the job and hooked me in.
Baggio, I sadly didn't witness Baggio, but many of my, I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, my cousins, obviously, who like Juventus, they went into it because of Baggio, obviously. And Baggio was a big influence on many people to love the club as well.
Yeah,
Even if Baggio had a bit of a crazy career because he played everywhere,
yeah,
and you cannot really define him as a legend of a particular club because he's an Italian legend more than
yeah,
being a legend of a club.
yeah. Um, so you have been in Turin, living for Turin. Have you been to the stadium live matches quite a bit?
Absolutely.
So let's finish off with your favorite moment where you were live there at a stadium.
I was in the San Siro when Higuain scored the famous goal in
Against
the last
Merda.
match.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it was a crazy idea. I've seen everything in football in 2 weeks because I went to see Napoli here at home when we lost with the famous Koulibaly goal in the 90th.
Yeah.
And then the week after, I already purchased a ticket to go to the San Siro, which was not a very. I mean, at the time, I was afraid that my girlfriend actually is a Napoli fan, so she's always speaking for me. But she's from Napoli, so obviously. But I mean, anyway, so I was afraid to go because I was not. I mean, yeah, going to it was my first time ever to go to the San Siro and against Inter and in this particular moment, and I mean everything was really confusing. You know how we will because after that game and the league, which we had been leading for weeks, we were going. It was just really a game that we had to win. So yeah, I mean I just went and I remember every single detail of that game. I mean I just. Until the 88th minute, we were losing the league, but then yeah, just I mean, yeah, I was lucky to attend. I mean, it's just, I mean,
That's amazing, man. Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah,
That one was just incredible.
incredible game. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
great. That's a great story. Well, Mustafa, thank you again
Thank you,
for
man.
coming on, being a guest, and doing this recap and sharing some of your favorite stories with Juve. It's much appreciated. Thank you again for all your support with the podcast and the shows and everything. Again, I can't thank you as well as everybody that takes the time to listen and watch. I appreciate it all very much.
Thank you, Alberto. It's a pleasure to be. I mean, I hope I'm going to be a light guest on people and they're not going to be too bored. I mean, it was a pleasure for me. Again, I'm recounting something that holds a dear memory in my heart. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the club I love, and thank you. It's a pleasure, and yeah, I mean, keep doing the great work you're doing. I mean, it's only a fact. It's not a compliment. You're doing a great job, and you're one of the good people that are doing work for you. I mean, so obviously, all the best to you, and thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
You
Thank
should
you
get
very,
some
very
sleep.
much. And thank you everybody again for taking the time to tune in. If you want to be taking part in a classic match recap, reach out to me. I'll let you pick the match, and then we'll break it down. Or if you want to do a fan focus, we can do that as well. But just reach out to me on Twitter. It's just at All JuveCast. And please don't forget to keep an eye on the Striped Hearts project. The 3 designs are coming out this week. We've got everyone that's reached out for pre-sales. The shipping's going to happen Monday or Tuesday of this week. And limited quantities, so if you haven't got yours, check them out. You can follow at striped_hearts on Twitter. Thank you again, and until next time, as always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.